The planet shimmered, a sapphire jewel against the backdrop of the cosmos. This was Allnex, a world steeped in ancient power, a testament to the legacy of a long-vanished race. Legends whispered of their advanced technology, their mastery over life itself. Their ruins dotted the landscape, silent guardians of forgotten knowledge. This was a sacred ground, a prize sought by many. For centuries, Allnex had known only peace, a fragile peace maintained by the delicate balance of power. But that balance was about to tip. The winds of change, carrying the scent of fear and ambition, swept across the land. The very air crackled with anticipation. A storm was coming. He stood tall, a figure of commanding presence. Sphinx, they called him. His armor, crafted in the image of ancient pharaohs of Earth, gleamed under the twin suns of Allnex. It was a symbol, a reminder of a past he barely remembered, a heritage he clung to. His face, weathered and scarred, spoke of countless battles fought and won. Sphinx surveyed the training grounds, his gaze sharp and unwavering. His soldiers, a mix of different species from across the galaxy, drilled with practiced precision. They were his legion, bound to him by loyalty and a shared thirst for victory. He was their leader, their champion, their pharaoh. At his side stood Vicus. Her armor, sleek and black, accentuated her powerful physique. A Valkyrie, some whispered, descended from the celestial warriors of myth. Her face, framed by braids of raven hair, was striking, beautiful, with a hint of predatory grace. Two iridescent wings, remnants of her insectoid heritage, folded neatly behind her back. Her gaze, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the ranks. She saw not just soldiers but individuals, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. She knew their names, their stories, their fears. It was her duty to mold them into a weapon, a force to be reckoned with.
They are ready.
Vicus's voice, low and steady, cut through the din of the training grounds. Her eyes, the color of molten gold, met Sphinx's.
Eager for battle.
They do not know what awaits them.
Sphinx replied, his voice a deep rumble. He had seen the horrors of war firsthand, had tasted the bitterness of victory.
This is no mere conquest, Vicus. This is Allnex. The fate of this world, the galaxy, perhaps rests on our shoulders.
Fear is a weapon best wielded by our enemies. Our soldiers are strong, Sphinx. They trust you. They trust me. We will not falter.
Trust alone is not enough to win wars, Vicus, but it is a start.
Vicus placed a hand on his arm, her touch surprisingly gentle. "We fight for a better future, Sphinx," she said, her voice soft but firm. "A future free from tyranny, from fear. That is a cause worth fighting for, a cause worth dying for."
Her words stirred something within him, hope. It was a flickering flame in the darkness, but it was there nonetheless. He had fought for so long, had lost so much, but he would not give up, not while there was still a chance to make a difference.
Assemble the troops, he commanded, his voice echoing across the training grounds. Prepare for battle.
Vicus raised her hand, a signal to cease training. A hush fell over the assembled troops as she stepped forward. Her voice, amplified by a device on her armor, resonated across the grounds. "Warriors of the Crimson Dawn," she boomed, her tone ringing with power. "The time has come to prove your worth. Today we fight not for land or riches, but for something far greater. We fight for freedom. We fight for justice. We fight for the very soul of Allnex."
Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of the soldiers. They had come from different worlds, different cultures, but they were united by a common purpose. They were the Crimson Dawn, and they would not be denied.
Section 7. The Unwavering Guard. Vicus' gaze swept across the ranks, resting on the elite guard standing at attention behind Sphinx. The Obsidian Guard. Giants all, clad in black armor that seemed to absorb the very light around them. Their faces were hidden behind featureless helmets, their eyes glowing with an eerie red light. They were the most feared warriors in the galaxy, loyal only to Sphinx. The obsidian guard will be our shield, our unbreakable wall. Wait, her voice filled with pride. They will stand against any foe and they will not yield. The obsidian guard responded with a synchronized stomp of their boots, the ground trembling beneath their feet. They were ready. They were eager. They were death incarnate.
Section 8. The Shadowed Plains. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains of Olnex. The air grew still, heavy with anticipation. In the distance, the silhouette of a fortress loomed, a dark stain against the dying light. The Fortress of Shadows, their objective.
Sphinx, mounted on a creature that resembled a cross between a lion and a lizard, raised his hand. The army, a vast sea of soldiers and war machines, froze. Silence descended, broken only by the whistling of the wind. "The enemy awaits," Sphinx's voice, amplified by his helmet, boomed across the battlefield. "They believe themselves to be invincible behind their walls. They are wrong. We will break them. We will crush them. We will show them the true meaning of fear."
Section 9. The Clash of Blades. With a roar that shook the very heavens, Sphinx urged his mount forward. The Crimson Dawn surged after him, a tidal wave of steel and fury. The battle had begun. The ground trembled as the two armies collided. The air filled with the clang of metal against metal, the screams of the dying, the roar of energy weapons. The battlefield was a maelstrom of chaos and carnage. Section 10. The Price of Victory. Sphinx fought like a man possessed, his blade a blur of motion. Around him his enemies fell, cut down by his fury. But for every enemy that fell, another took their place. The defenders of the Fortress of Shadows were many, and they fought with the desperation of those who knew they faced their doom. Victory would not come easy. It would be bought in blood, paid for in the lives of many. But Sphinx was prepared to pay that price. For the sake of Olnex, for the future he envisioned, he would sacrifice everything. In a lavish oasis located deep in the desert of the Olnex jungles, two figures lay in wait. The first is a jade-colored lizard woman with deep hazel eyes, a curvy athletic frame, and long brown hair that surprisingly shimmered brightly in the desert sun. She wore armor similar to that of barbarians seen only in the pages of Earth's history books, with a long curved bladed sword at her waist. The other figure was far less imposing, as it was merely a floating black surfboard with gold trim that emitted a powerful white aura as it scouted the surrounding area.
Can you please tone it down a bit, Harold? You're nearly outglowing the sun here, love.
The surfboard begins to dim slightly at the lizard woman's words.
"You'll thank me for my shine once we get the drop on Sphinx and put an end to that tyrant and his empire's threat to Olnex and the—"
Hey, you know better than to speak of that out loud. You never know who might be listening.
The lizard woman interrupted, bringing a slight amusement to what could be viewed as Harold's face.
"That's what I've always liked about you, Shara. A tactician to a fault. But you can relax, dear. Sphinx's army is merely securing the jungle outskirts. We're too deep in the weeds for even an army of that size to reach us."
You may be right. Even so, we can't take the slightest chance with this operation. After all, what we're protecting could finally give us the means to turn the tide of this war in our favor.
You don't have to tell me twice. So many people, warriors, innocents, have put it all on the line for this. Heck, even now we've got at least 20,000 troops and volunteer warriors out there right now, ready to defend us all for that little blue jawbreaker in your hand.
It really is that small, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You'd think something that had the power to change the fate of the galaxy itself would be the size of a planet at least. But no, it's not even a quarter of that. Tech sure is a strange thing.
Well, I guess you would be the one to see things that way, given your own situation, old friend. No way. How'd he get past the troops?
Oh, it was quite simple, really, dear Shara. I just simply cut them down.
Shara turned to see a large beam of light coming at her from the lush mosh land. She tried to dodge the projectile before it could make contact, however. She was a second too late. She went flying through the air, landing near a batch of quicksand, thanks to her slight blocking some of the impact before the full blunt of the attack hit her.
Shara! Harold shouts as he watches his comrade sail not so gracefully through the air, battered and bruised, covered in a trail of smoke.
Disappointing. I wanted to finish you off quickly in honor of the entertainment. How unfortunate. I guess we'll have to take this slow and painful route. Sphinx replied, emerging from the mosh with Vicus and 2 other lizard men. Take care of this piece of scrap for me. I've got lovers to reunite.
As you wish, my lord.
Out of my way, you flying pest.
Could you please be a little nicer to my pets, especially when I'm your opponent?
Fine, I'll spare you a moment of my time.
Elsewhere, in a scorching desert full of blazing, glimmering sand.
Damn it, how'd you find us so quickly?
Oh, it was quite easy.
Humph, who said they weren't?
A mixture of anger, sorrow, shock, and horror blended itself across Shara's face as the lizard men did as commanded.
But Harold scanned this area at least 20 times or so, and nothing non-organic came. Igratizu.
Shara stood speechless, only able to glare fiercely at Sphinx as she stared into the face of her former love. Gone were the stern yet gentle eyes that had brought her so much comfort in their numerous battles and such welcome relief in their quiet moments. Instead, all that she saw was a cold, soulless, aqua-colored iguana-shaped machine with a mini laser cannon tail aimed right at her face. A look of fiendish glee came across his face. Igratizu, so that was his name. He was so weak, I didn't care to remember it.
What did you do to him?
Sphinx simply smirked. Do I really need to explain?
Answer me! Sphinx smirked in triumphant glee at the look of pain and despair on Shara's face. Temper, temper, my dear, now you bastard! Shara shouted, before drawing a short sword covered in energy and lunging at Sphinx, nearly foaming at the mouth with tear-shot blood-red eyes.
Sadly, Shara's reckless attack was easily blocked by the second lizard man's sword tip. Geez, sis, can't you compose yourself a bit better while Lord Sphinx is gloating? It'll make this all go a lot simpler. Oh, and his name's Iguanodon now, by the way.
Shara gave the long, red-haired, jade-grass, green-skinned lizard man a defiant glare. My brother is dead, so I've got nothing to say to a traitor like you, Renica. Calling you by name is the only kindness I've left to give you.
Renica simply smiled menacingly. Is that what you think I did, foolish little girl? I'm not the villain here. If you hadn't rebelled, our family would have been given high standing in the Empire. Our land would have been at the center of trade and commerce. Sadly, now you'll all just be more fuel for the soul foal, and Allnecks will become nothing more than an ash-covered wasteland. Renica pulled Shara by the collar of her navy blue cloak, so her eyes could meet his gaze before he continued. Now you tell me, dear sister, which is better, to live as honored slaves or die failed heroes?
Heroes never fail, because even in death they give people hope to carry on.
Sphinx pointed to Iguanodon, who aimed his massive mechanical tail at his former love, mentally mouthing the words, "I'm sorry," as the tip of his tail began to turn into a cannon and began to charge a death blast. S2. Media, fantasy battle, character pushing another aside, dramatic rescue in a fantasy setting, intense confrontation with characters in a battle stance. Sphinx walked over with Iguanodon and pushed Renica aside, catching Shara's collar before she and it fell back to the ground. Well, if that's so, then I'll simply have to crush that hope every time it sprouts. Pulling Shara in tighter, he continued, and I'll start with you.
Back on the other side of the desert, Herald glared at Vicus and her flock of bioorganic birds.
Damn it! How the hell wasn't I able to sense these flying rodents? Oh, don't feel too bad. Our new science chief is excellent. As I told Lord Sphinx, when we cracked Queen Serena's barrier and started giving cores to humans or finding core shards that were lost in the battle between Prince Darius, we never thought that Earthlings were much. Heck, most of them died due to their low life force output. However, she was different. While she had no compatibility with the cores, her genius is exceptional. After all, she figured out how to combine cybernetics with organics flawlessly. There's no way that's possible. I understand your amazement. However, Vicus raises her hand to the sky and lowers it, causing the flock of birds to attack. The reality is right in front of you.
Herald effortlessly dodges the approaching flock. However, these foes' attacks were patterned like homing beacons, so they continued to swarm around, drastically restricting Herald's movements.
Out of my way, you flying rodents! Herald shouts, desperately attempting to escape its growing entrapment.
Unfortunately, Herald's demands were not met as the flock merely divided itself. Half of the raven's eyes began to glow and started to fire lasers at him.
Ha ha, how amusing. The great Herald reduced to nothing but a dancing mouse. How? While I'd love to see that attempt, sadly, Master Sphinx wishes to have that new core and end this war today. Therefore, it's time to end this, my worthy foe.
Vicus remarks as she launches her attack at Herald. Strained on both battlefields, Herald and Shara both desperately did everything they could to survive, dodging and blocking attack after attack from all sides. Herald, damn it. If I could just get these rodents out of the way, I'd be able to...
Never take your eyes off your opponent.
Herald is nearly caught off guard by Vicus's axe strike, but manages to turn slightly in time to avoid a fatal blow. However, the axe still hits its arm, damaging it slightly. Herald, ah!
Interesting, so robots can feel pain. Herald, I'm a cyborg, you ass.
Herald remarked as it forced its damaged arm to defend itself again.
You'll be scrapped soon enough, so that last part was just an observation.
Herald lightly chuckles, defiant in the face of adversity.
That was your last insult.
Vicus narrows her gaze, her eyes full of determination. Herald lightly chuckles again.
I could say the same to you. Now let's finish this dance. I've got a friend to save. Correction, you've got a friend to die with. I wouldn't be so sure of that, old friend.
Both Herald and Vicus stop clashing for a moment. Herald smiles as he sees an aqua-colored lizardman with a dark brown ponytail, wearing cybernetic medieval armor, broadsword drawn, fearlessly charging forward towards the battlefield. He is stopped by the ravens, but his distraction gives Herald enough space to launch a few laser blasts at the ravens, clipping their wings. Herald thinks the threat is ended, but is shocked to see the bird's wings begin to regenerate.
How dare you, you bastard! I swear I'll have your head for every drop of our blood you poured into that thing.
Oh, please. All you and that piece of scrap over there are doing is delaying fate. But don't worry, Raoul. Your blood will join our supplies soon.
We'll see about that.
Shockingly, Vicus is saved from death not by her minions but by Raoul. Herald is shocked by the betrayal. However, seeing the look in Raoul's eye as he blocks the attack with his free hand gives Herald all the answers needed.
I understand. Don't you die on me, Commander.
Herald replies before leaving the battlefield. Hang on, Shara, I'm on my way.
Shara rolled, narrowly avoiding the searing heat of Renika's energy blade. The air crackled with energy. Each swing from Renika was a dance of death. Shara parried desperately. She deflected laser blasts from Sphinx's hovering fortress.
You hesitate, Shara. Is it love that stays your hand?
Shara snarled, her grip tightening on her own blade.
You mistake compassion for weakness, Sphinx. You will pay for your crimes.
Renika pressed her attack, her face a mask of pain and determination.
Shara, please, don't make me do this.
Shara's heart ached. She loved Renika once. Now they were enemies, locked in a deadly dance. But Shara couldn't yield. Not while Sphinx threatened the galaxy. Not while innocent lives hung in the balance. Renika is lost to you. Sphinx's voice slithered into Shara's mind, a venomous whisper.
She chose her side. She chose power over you.
Shara blocked another blow, her anger flaring.
You poisoned her mind, Sphinx. You twisted her love into this.
Sphinx chuckled, a chilling sound.
Love is a weakness, Shara, a distraction. Renika understands that now. She has embraced her true potential.
Shara staggered back, the weight of his words pressing down on her. Could it be true? Had Renika truly turned against her? Doubt gnawed at her resolve. But as Renika lunged again, her eyes filled with a cold, calculating light, Shara knew the truth. Sphinx had taken everything from her. Her love, her friend, her world. A surge of raw power coursed through Shara. It started in her chest, a white-hot ember of betrayal and loss. It ignited something deep within her, something ancient and powerful. She roared, a sound of both fury and grief. Her body pulsed with energy. Light erupted from her skin, blindingly bright.
What's this?
Renika stumbled back, shielding her eyes. Shara didn't answer. She couldn't. She was consumed by the power, by the pain, by the overwhelming need to stop Sphinx. Her hands crackled with energy, her sword hummed, resonating with the power coursing through her veins. She was a weapon forged in the fires of her own broken heart. Shara moved like a whirlwind. She was a blur of light and fury, her blade a beacon against the encroaching darkness. Renika's attacks, once so precise, now seemed clumsy and slow. Sphinx roared in frustration.
Destroyer, don't let her stand in my way.
Renika hesitated, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror, but the moment passed. She raised her blade once more, her face hardening with resolve.
I'm sorry, Shara. This is my destiny.
But Shara barely heard her. She was focused on Sphinx, on ending his reign of terror once and for all. A figure darted through the chaos, a beacon of hope in the maelstrom. Herald, his armor battered but his spirit unbroken, landed beside Shara.
Shara, stop. This isn't you. Don't let Sphinx take your soul.
Shara faltered, her eyes flickering with doubt. Herald's words pierced through the haze of her fury. Was this what she had become? A weapon of destruction fueled by anger and pain?
He took everything from me, my love, my life, my world. He has to pay.
Herald reached out, his hand hovering near hers.
I know, but vengeance won't bring them back. Don't let him win, Shara, not like this.
A battle cry echoed across the battlefield, fierce and primal. Kauramo, her eyes blazing with righteous fury, crashed into the fray. She moved like a force of nature, her twin axes a blur of silver.
Shara, I am with you.
Kauramo's presence was a jolt of energy, a reminder that Shara wasn't alone. Together, they pushed back against the tide of Sphinx's forces, their blades singing a symphony of defiance. But Sphinx was ready for them. His fortress shuddered, and a wave of energy erupted outwards, throwing both Shara and Kauramo back.
You cannot defeat me. I am power incarnate.
From the depths of Sphinx's fortress, a tide of shadow creatures poured forth. They were grotesque mockeries of life, twisted and deformed by Sphinx's dark power. Their eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and their claws dripped with a viscous black ooze. Kauramo roared, her axes flashing as she cut down the creatures that dared to approach. But for everyone that fell, 2 more took its place.
We're overwhelmed. We can't hold them off forever.
Shara fought with desperate fury, her blade a whirlwind of light, but even with her newfound power she could feel her strength waning. A figure, cloaked in shadow, emerged from the heart of the enemy ranks. Raoul, his face a mask of cold determination, raised his hand and a wave of energy slammed into the shadow creatures, vaporizing them instantly.
Sphinx, your reign ends now.
Sphinx's laughter echoed from his fortress, a sound of pure malice.
You dare defy me, Raoul? You who betrayed your own kind?
You twisted my loyalty, Sphinx. But I see your true nature now. And I will not stand by while you destroy everything we hold dear.
Their power clashed, a blinding explosion of light and darkness that shook the very foundations of the battlefield. Shara watched the duel unfold, her heart pounding in her chest. This was her chance. With Sphinx distracted, she could strike him down, end his reign of terror once and for all. But as she raised her blade, a cold realization washed over her. If she killed Sphinx, she would be no better than him. She would be consumed by the very darkness she sought to destroy.
There's another way, Shara. A better way.
Shara looked at him, her eyes searching his.
Redemption. Show Renika the truth. Show her that love is stronger than hate, that there's still hope for her.
Shara lowered her blade, her gaze shifting to Renika, who fought with a desperate fury beside Sphinx. Could she reach her? Could she break through the darkness that had consumed her former love? As if sensing her gaze, Renika looked up. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met across the battlefield, and in that instant Shara saw a flicker of the woman she once loved. A spark of doubt in the depths of her eyes. The battle raged on, a symphony of chaos and destruction. But for Shara, the world had narrowed to a single point. Renika. She had to reach her. She had to try. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, but at that moment all that mattered was love, and the faintest glimmer of hope in the face of overwhelming darkness. The echoes of the fallen whispered around them, a reminder of the stakes and the sacrifices made. Shara knew what she had to do.
Save my family. Kauramo whispers as she tightens her grip on Renika.
Herald nods and files off with Shara, Iguanodon in hot pursuit. Herald, damn it, of course it can fly. To itself. Guess I've got no choice. I really hate doing this to a friend, but I'm out of options. Moments later, Shara and Herald are back on the other side of the desert. Shara's wounds healed by the leaf core power and her own regenerative abilities. Herald, we've really got to break this habit.
Agreed.
Herald and Shara find a moment to talk. Herald, so now that we've got time, mind telling me why you chose not to discuss your limit, and don't tell me it was for the mission, Herald shouts.
So you want me to lie then? Herald sighs, tears in its eyes. Yes, it replies soberly. Sorry, I can't do that.
Herald gives Shara a look of dread.
No! It shouts as Shara hands it the 2 cores. We don't have time. I'm sure you can sense it. They won't last long, will they? I'd give them another 5 minutes or so. And you're still going, aren't you? We're out of options. If there are any other soldiers out there, they're probably being held up by drones. Even so, that doesn't mean you've got to throw your life away. Then tell me, old friend, what do you suggest? I don't know. I just don't want to lose another one of you. Yeah, to be honest, I really hadn't planned on dying today, but, I mean, I can't just leave Igatisu in that state now, can I? I'm his wife, after all. So this is what till death do you part means. No wonder people get divorced. Sphinx is right. You really are amazing. I'm going to miss that newfound sense of humour of yours. You're not... All of you are not going to survive this. And give me a bigger chest, you hear me? Yeah, any time for you to go. Stay safe out there, Shara. Remember my chest. Goodbye, old friend. Thank you for the hope you gave me, for our laughter in these trying times. But most of all...
Ah, there you are, sis. Time to meet that pathetic end you've been dying for.
The love you helped me to find.